Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anime Watch Club, a bi-weekly group discussion where the cast of the What Do You Say anime podcast nominates and votes on shows we either haven't seen or want to see, or shows that we would like to watch with great conversations in store. On today's episode, the gang will be talking about the 2004 anime Elfen Lied. First up, let's meet the cast. We have our resident comedian, the funniest man in Discord. We have Johnny. Johnny, how's it going?
Wait, I thought we had a game to decide that was actually Miles, but I guess I'll take it.
Yeah, you're
You
the
know,
funniest.
last place every time, but number one in my heart, so that's all that matters.
Well, we're glad to have you. Next up, we have our resident certified lover boy, Mr. Boombastic himself. We have Haz. Haz, how's it going?
Um, you know, certified as always, loving boys. Next person, please.
All right, yeah, sounds good. Our first moderator of the night, our resident chaperone, homeroom teacher himself. We have Miles. Miles, how's it going?
It is going well. I'm excited to talk about the show. Should be a good time.
I hope so. And last but not least, we have myself, and I'm doing great. And Pat.
Yep, Pat. Hello, I am Pat. Back from a one of my first long weekends of vacation in September. Can't wait for the next one coming up soon. But yeah, we're here to talk about Elfen Lied, which is a show that I nominated. I've been nominating for a while. If you've been listening to Watch Club for a while, it's been nominated, God, probably 10, 12 times by now. And it finally got enough legacy points and enough votes in general to win. So we will be discussing it. So as we always do with the show, let's do our first impressions. So the first few episodes, what we knew going into it, if we knew anything from prior watching or prior reading about it, and try to keep it spoiler free as well. Again, don't worry about spoilers yet. We'll get to that eventually. Miles, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So I mean, all I knew is that it was like an older anime, and that it was like kind of edgy and stuff, and then that girl is naked all the time. So those are the things I knew about it going in, and it for sure hit older anime, naked all the time, and kind of edgy, right on the nail. So if that sounds like a thing that you are into, go ahead and watch the show. I don't know. I think, would I recommend the show? Sure. I think it's kind of fun, albeit bad. But enough people like it that it's probably at least worth giving a go. And I think that, most people can at least enjoy the ride. So, if you're in the mood for something that's a little popcorny and that you don't necessarily need to zone in for a ton, give it a go.
Yeah, I agree that you don't have to zone in that hard, but I think you definitely can with this show, which is what I liked about it.
I don't think you can. I think that really, the more I've thought about it, the more I've realized that it's bad. So
Really?
don't do it.
I disagree. The more I thought about it, the more I liked it. So we'll see. Well, I guess that'll be part of our discussion. The other thing I was gonna say is I think one good point that you brought up too is that you can probably tell in the first 10 minutes whether you're gonna be able to make it through the gore or not of the series.
Yes.
Like, again, this isn't really spoilery. It's more just the first 10 minutes are the peak level of the gore that you're going to see throughout the series. And will you see it again? Yes, you will see that peak again, but it doesn't really get much worse. So if you can stomach the first episode, you can probably stomach the rest of the series. So I think that that's a good little like indicator of whether you should keep watching or not. So yeah, all right, Johnny, what have you got?
Yeah, so like the other white person here, I also only knew this show because I saw tits, and also because I don't know, I've heard before there's like one of the classics as well. There's like a lot of people like back then they said they enjoyed it, so that's about what I heard. And yeah, so going into it, yeah, first 10 minutes, gory as hell, blood everywhere, boobs everywhere. If you're into that, maybe a bit of both. I don't know. That's your thing. And yes, just yeah, just a lot of like old '90s anime tropes. Even though this isn't '90s, it's like mid 2000s, and it's just it's hard to put into words. The best way I've described it, and it's like I've said this before, the whole show feels like a shit post. it feels like it's like make. It's probably because of like I wasn't around when anime was like this. Is like this is feels like an abridged series to me. It's really hard to describe. Like I'm probably going way off topic here, so
So
I'll just leave it.
no, that's completely fair too. I think so. Did you watch sub or dub, by the way?
I watched the sub.
The sub. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Because I think if you watch the dub, you might sit there and say this feels abridged because the dub can be very, like you said, it came out in 2004. This dub can be very 2004 at a lot of different
But
moments.
the dialogue feels like it's abridged. Like I could not believe this is real.
Yeah, and so that means as well the subtitle translations were probably pretty, to put it very poor, probably, or weren't very like, like to the standard that we might be used to today. So I think that that's a completely fair criticism or feeling to have from the show. I don't know. I think that makes a lot of sense, and we could definitely talk about that later. Let's keep ourselves moving here. Haz, what have you got?
Yeah, Elfen Lied, as we found out it's pronounced, Shannon.
Yes.
Um, is I knew about it. It's essentially that time of anime that got me into it. Not that I was around for that time, but like I watched anime from that time that got me into anime. Knew about the gore and knew about a few of the scenes I think are pretty famous on Twitter and make the rounds every now and then. Would I recommend this show to people? I mean, if you're into shows from this time, it's very much this time. So like shows like Samurai Champloo, Monster, Gantz, DRS, stuff like that. Like that's essentially the same year that this came out. Um, and whether it's up to the quality of those, I wouldn't say it's like a Monster or Samurai Champloo, but I would say it's still it's enjoyable for the time that it came out. And like if you're looking for something that really screams that vibe, because every era of anime has its own vibe, and I think this is very much like something that it leans into the tropes of its time, and I very much enjoyed it. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think from some things I've read too that people will say that like even though I didn't like love the show itself, I could at least enjoy what happened on the screen, I guess, and I think that
Mhm.
you bring up a very good point that it does do a lot of things that anime from its time period is known for, including a little bit of a little bit of the cousin versus cousin or lover bit that anime can do sometimes too. So especially from that time period.
I was trying to recommend this show, Pat. Please.
Hey, I am too. But yeah,
Some people like that, so
yeah, there you go. I mean, look at even in the U.S. I mean, what Step Brother and Step? What are you doing, Step Bro? Like, isn't that like like I don't know.
So,
I'm just saying, just saying. All right, Pete, what have you got?
So my first impressions, I've seen like episode 1, the scene 100 times. And every Linkin Park AMV with anime includes that's those scenes. So I've seen it 100 times. First impressions, I thought the show was like pretty enjoyable. I thought it had a pretty solid plot going forward, and I was pretty invested. I didn't think it was good in any way, but like it was an enjoyable show for the beginning parts of it. Most of my qualms comes towards the end. Would I recommend this show? Absolutely not. This show sucked monster cock. That is a hard pass for me.
All right, all right. So we can see where we're all lining up on the like versus dislike spectrum so far. I'd say I'm the opposite of Pete. I had never seen anything about the show other than the cover art, and I knew obviously coming in that it had a little bit of gore and like the child not child soldier necessarily, but like the cruelty that the children do suffer in this show. And I knew that coming in, and I was curious. I was very very curious, and obviously I knew about the nudity and the explicitness of the whole show overall. And so I was curious. That's why I nominated it for Watch Club. I avoided watching any scenes from it up until the start. And then I mean part of the reason why I probably binged this in one night is because I knew I had to, because I had a pretty busy week or two leading up to this. But I could not put the series down once I started it. And I have to say, I did watch the dub. The dub was, like we will talk about, I'm sure. The dub was not very good. It was very late 90s, early 2000s, just man, they must have picked these people up off the street sometime. And the lines that they said were just, some of them are iconic. Some of them are very funny. I will highlight some of them later, but overall, I really enjoyed the series a lot, and I can see why people don't enjoy it. I can see why it's not something that you might seek out yourself, but I think we aren't giving the show enough credit for what it did. From again, from discussions that we've had leading up to this, I feel like we're being a bit harsh on it. But I guess that's why we're here to discuss it. So yeah, so now going forward, and I would recommend this series, but only to people who are ready. Again, you got to make it. If you can't make it through the first episode without like wanting to shut it off, I don't think this is the right series for you. And I also don't think that this is the right series if you are really only looking for the gore too. Like, I don't know. I think there was a lot of other things going on. I mean, there was, fuck's sake, there was like romance, there was mature drama, there was a little bit of melodrama, a little bit of like psychological stuff. There was a lot of different things in this that, in my opinion, made it more interesting, but it also made it hard to nail down like a specific genre to recommend it or not, I'd say. Um, so yeah, but yeah, going forward now, spoilers are on or off. I don't know. There will be spoilers
But
going on.
spoiler safety is off.
Yeah, the spoiler safety is off. Thank you, Miles. We're locked and loaded. We're ready to go.
Snape kills Dumbledore.
Yeah.
What? What? Snape?
Sorry.
Damn.
Dude.
How you gonna spoil Twilight like that for us?
Can't
Like,
believe
what the
this
fuck?
shit.
I got talked about Twilight for the 50th fucking time. Move on.
Sorry, my bad. I thought that was pretty funny. I guess it wasn't. But
I
anyways,
thought it was funny,
Was that
buddy.
before 5
Don't
minutes?
worry.
thank you, thank you. I didn't
We're
see
about
you
to
laugh.
fight a lot, but I still think you're funny.
I appreciate that. I have to have something, right? If it isn't intelligence and correct opinions on this show, but we'll see. Anyways, yeah. So spoilers for Elfen Lied going forward. You can pause this, come back to us another time if you want to hear or want to not be spoiled. It is a pretty spoiler heavy show, I would say. Like, people die and things happen. You know, it's not like a harem or something like that.
Okay.
Where nothing happens.
It kind of is
It's
a harem.
a
Okay.
harem. It's
Is it a harem?
Yeah,
we
it's
will
a
see.
harem.
I don't think it's
I'll-
technically a harem, but like it is one dude with like 4 women in the same house, so it's like kind of a harem.
And in the manga,
It-
5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there's a manga for this show.
Yeah,
like
there
that's
is.
the source is the manga.
It is a manga sourced, and the
Actually,
manga has a
very good
different.
visual novel too. No, I'm just-
There no, I don't know about that. The manga actually has a very different ending to the series as well, so we can talk about that a little bit too. Because Haz and I know Haz and I at least read up on it. Because I was curious. I looked at the manga, I looked at things, and I was like, what the hell happened at the end of this series when I finished it? So yeah. But anyways, spoilers, and we are moving in. So does anyone have a discussion point that they want to start out with?
Can we start light before we get into some of the harder stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I thought this show had some. I want to ask you guys this: your favorite bits of the show. So for me, it was the military guy who was just always standing on the beach. That's like the only. That's the only spot it took place in his character was on the beach. Whether it was like the invasion of whatever city they were in took place on the beach. When he met Mayu for like the first time, well, technically the second time, that was on the beach. When he meets Nana, it's on the beach. It's just this dude cannot escape the beach. I don't know if it's like what's that name? M. Night Shyamalan movie where this dude just cannot escape this area.
It's like his spirit. He did die in the invasion,
Yeah.
and his spirit is attached to the beach, and he can
It's all-
never actually leave.
But there were some
It's a
other,
D-Day reference.
there were some other funny bits. That was mine. I know I'm a kind of like soft pass it over the Miles, but like the dog.
Yeah. Okay, so this bit wasn't supposed to be funny, but I thought honestly it's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen in anime or life. So we're getting Nana's like tragic backstory, and it's legitimately tragic. Like she has a horribly like physically and sexually abusive
Wait, do you mean
stepfather.
Mayu?
No,
Nana?
No,
Mayu
what-
is the dog girl.
Yeah.
Nana's the
Nana's the other
Diclonian.
pink character.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
Not,
there's so many.
pink-haired
Okay, yeah,
one.
sorry. We're getting
Wait.
Mayu's
Yeah.
tragic backstory. And so she's like abused by her stepfather, and she goes around and like she ends up being homeless because her mother like supports the stepfather, and so she has to like try to make it, and she finds this like dog, and it's going through her story, and she's out on her own forever how long, and like as she's reminiscing this, she like looks at the dog and says, well, at least I'll always have you on the beach, same beach. And then
Yep.
out of nowhere, a woman just comes up and is like, oh, my dog, thank you, and like takes the dog, and then she's like, can I like walk the dog and like see him? He's like my only friend, and she's like, no, you dirty homeless animal, and
Yeah.
like runs away. And it
Yeah.
was just like so unnecessarily tragic that I just burst out laughing, especially because in the next damn scene, X amount of months pass, she's like in school and she has the dog again.
Yeah, they didn't really explain how she got the dog back. I don't know. Maybe it was a different dog. They didn't address that. I don't know. That isn't something that I ended up
Maybe
looking
it's
up
a
in the
different
manga.
dog. It's the
I-
same dog.
I don't
I
know.
could've
I'm just saying.
sworn-
I have no idea.
Yo,
In
if
my
it
memory,
quacks
I
like a
could've
duck
sworn-
and walks like a duck, it's the same dog.
In my memory, I could have
Dog?
sworn that the dog walked its way back to the entrance of the house, and then it flash forwarded. But I'm gonna be honest,
It didn't.
that dog is
unfortunately, yeah.
God tier. That dog just
I-
fucking
Yeah,
So-
I don't mind.
Doing-
I just thought they were like, I mean, they
Very-
were really
Yeah.
piling on the backstory. Like the tragic backstory was like ratcheted up to 10, and then they were like, how do we kick this fucking girl while she's down? It's like, let's take her dog away.
Yeah, and that was that. So that is one of the scenes that I definitely wrote down, and I was like, "Wait, what? How did she get the dog back?" And it doesn't touch on it, and it's like, "All right, well, sorry, the show isn't perfect." Oh, well,
But it's,
nine-
not,
nine-
it's
nine out of 10
honestly,
now.
it's not like a huge complaint I have. I
No,
just
I know it's just funny. It was.
I just
funny,
thought it was
like-
funny how like you could tell they were like writing it, and they were like, yeah, and then like her dad abuses her, and her mom agrees with the dad, and then at the end, someone's like, and then someone takes her dog away, and they're all like,
I really want to
yeah.
know in the manga if that's what happened, or like, do they show the dog walking back progressively in the manga? Again, I would love to know. If someone
yeah,
has read
if
the
you've
manga,
read the
please tell
manga,
us.
how did she
Yeah,
get the dog back? Let us know.
because
did the dog just fucking TP back to the fucking house like that?
Yeah.
That's
reason
also
I
a fair option.
I think it could be a different dog. The only reason I think it's possible is because every dog in this show looks exactly the
they
same.
do.
Every
Exactly.
dog is
Except
like
for the
a
one that
puppy
died.
golden retriever.
I should have dug into
It's
that
like-
Clonius.
The one that died
fucking
was
that's the
different,
twist.
but we'll get to that later.
But the one who died looked the same, but they colored it different.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. It's a different color.
Okay,
I guess either way.
It's Saber.
Yeah, it's so my I guess my favorite there were a couple moments that really made me laugh. First off, my favorite quote was what does the fate of my balls have to do with the fate of mankind? That was
Sir.
an iconic line from the same guy who stands on the beach.
the one scene
only-
he's not on the beach.
Yes, the one scene he's on the beach, he just says, "What do the fate of my balls have to do with the fate of mankind?" And I gut laughed when he said that because I could not believe that a dub would say that, and it was so funny in the context. He's just saying that to a doctor, just doesn't give a shit. Like is like had just lost both of his eyes and like his arms too, I believe. Like I don't know, man. I loved that scene, and I also loved. Well, I guess there's another little bit. It's not to say that I loved it, but every time that dog was on screen, I feared for that dog's life. I feared for especially whenever it was near Lucy. I was like, damn, this dog is going to bite the dust in the most tragic way. And so, sure enough, though, it eventually gets revealed. I did write down one thing I noticed. The dog, at first I thought she was only attached to the dog because she saw it like chained up to or leashed up to the house, and she saw it sympathetically in the sense that she, because like they show us, oh, the leash is cut, and it's like supposed to be like a fake out that the dog is dead.
Yes.
I interpreted that as Lucy seeing that dog as like similar to herself, being like trapped or caged, whatever, and her freeing it as like a sympathetic thing that she did. But then of course we find out later on that she also had a dog that happened to look very similar to that dog as well, so maybe that's why she was sympathetic towards it. Again, I don't know, maybe I'm the death of the author, whatever, blah blah blah, but I thought that was the thought that I immediately had, and it stuck with me as a very little minute detail or minute scene that that really stuck with me. What do you have, Johnny, out of
Alright.
these?
So here's the thing, like, what do you mean by favorite exactly? Because like I have one scene in mind, and it's not, and I pick it not because I like it, but because it's probably the worst confession scene I've ever seen in anime.
Okay, well, so yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be favorite because like another good one, right, is like, oh, if I can't find 500 yen, I can't even eat. Says what's her name, Mayu, and she's like sitting there burning.
Nana.
Or Nana, sorry, God, their names are so similar. Nana sitting there burning money, like, damn, if only I could find some yen or something. I thought that was really funny, and
That was awesome.
I thought it was
Useless fucking
funny.
paper.
Yeah,
Like,
useless. What's
okay.
this useless paper supposed to do for me when I can't even find yen? And it's I liked that. So that could be, but also I could see why people don't. But that,
Alright, so
anyways,
like, can I? Yeah,
confession
so
scene, yes.
okay, yeah, so like, in case we haven't talked about it already, there's like a ton of girls in this show. One of them's his cousin. They don't say if it's actually
We don't know
blood
for sure.
related,
We
but
don't
I'm
know
just
for
gonna
sure.
assume it is because it's anime.
Mhm.
And that's
They do
usually
say
what happens.
cousin.
They say
Yes.
cousin, but of course that could also, we also say senpai and kohai, right? Or they should say we. They say senpai or kohai or ni-chan and ne-chan, right? Like they say that, but that doesn't necessarily mean your brother or sister, right? Like that's the thing in Japanese culture. Again, from my understanding, can't speak as if I have a degree in this or something, but my understanding is that they'll say that word to describe affinity or closeness rather than
Italians do.
actual. Yeah, I guess so. There you go.
What do Italians?
Like a lot of people do.
Do
Yeah,
Italians make out with their cousins?
they probably
No,
do
Italians
sometimes.
say, "I'm walking here."
I cook the meatball or some shit,
Okay,
right?
so
They say
anyway,
let's
so like,
go.
well, she wanted his meatballs, but anyways, so like, it's like they're out looking for Lucy because she's like a rabid dog just going around doing God knows what. So then it starts raining, and then so like they sit under a shrine, because like it's the classic anime setup. The two love interests go outside to do something stupid, and then they have to hide under the rain, and then they confess their love to each other, whatever. So, so this guy, he's like, "Oh, it's cold. I wonder what I should do. Oh, yes, I should just go behind my cousin and just like caress her, and then, or is it the other way, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. And then they say some words, and then they just start fucking making out. And then they also
I
like,
liked it.
I
actually
loved it.
liked
I
that scene.
loved it.
no,
I thought,
Yeah.
it was so out of nowhere.
I thought it was.
I-
I thought it was a perfect like confession scene. I thought it was
I-
really,
It was
maybe
so
not
out of
maybe not perfect,
nowhere.
but like I thought it was like it felt really real to me.
I
It
thought
was
it was
out
really
of
good
nowhere.
too.
She'd been hinting at it the entire
No,
time.
but,
She'd been
like,
hinting and
the
building
one- so,
progressively.
like,
Yeah.
Hinting is a
So, like,
little less
she
of a
had,
word
like,
than what it was. It was
Fair
very
enough.
strong.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you could tell from episode. I could
She
tell
was
from
lusting
episode
for
1.
him.
Okay, so
Lusting for him, yeah.
like they don't do this when like they're home with each other. No, that they do it out in the fucking rain.
Yeah,
while
because they're
searching for-
alone.
They've always.
There's people at their house.
Johnny, how many girls have you kissed?
Oh shit!
Yeah, like this is
Oh
like
no!
you'll understand when you and a girl get
I-
alone at a shrine, shit
if I
goes down.
I didn't, if me doing this didn't fuck up the cameras, I'd leave right now. But so no, anyways, like okay, so like I haven't even got to my favorite part, and it's like so apparently this line wasn't in the dub, but in the sub, it literally says, "I want to be your property," and that is the
Hot.
the funniest shit I've ever heard. Like like there's a classic, it's like I want to be with you, like all that stuff. It's like now, I want to be your property. I want to like insert name of some fucking
See,
politician. I
for
don't know.
me, it was ruined because right after the confession and they start making out, she falls. He sees up her skirt because that's what
Oh, yeah,
happens
no,
when
that
someone
was
falls.
fucking awful.
Anime.
And then she does the whole like baka thing and punches him, and I was like, "Oh my god, we almost had a fresh scene in an anime, but we didn't
Yeah.
quite get there."
Like,
She-
yeah,
she
like
wa-
you didn't just.
She
like,
like
you didn't
wants
just
him to
make out
touch
with
her
her
breast, but
Yeah,
if he sees her underwear for a split second,
God forbid.
Baka Koda.
They also though, but then that scene too, I really like that scene a lot because it then in
Oh.
hindsight when you think about it, you're like, oh, what's her name, did Lucy push her or whatever, like with her spectre arm, which of course they don't show it, but could she have? Maybe. And then does that scene mirror what Lucy saw when she was younger, and is that why she kind of like loses it a little bit and is like close to breaking.
What's that we're talking
From
about here?
we're talking about the same one you were talking about.
Well, Lucy isn't there in that scene, though, is she?
At the
She gets there at
shrine.
the end.
At
Yeah.
the end, and
she's
sees
there.
what's
Yeah.
happening, and
Yeah.
I can't remember if she goes from Niu to Lucy or if it's the other way around. I honestly I can't remember off the top of my head, but you could tell it like triggers
gets, like,
her.
Yeah, you get the eye like
The
change,
twitch
like,
or
but
whatever.
it's not like a full transformation though. It's just
No,
like she remembers what happened all those
And-
years ago.
which of course then you realize that that's what she's remembering after you get to that scene later on or get to that betrayal that happens. Again, I agree. I agree with the others. I love that confession scene. I thought it was fun. Obviously, it was a little cheesy, and like you said, I don't know. That line is a little sketch, but like if a woman said that to me, I don't know, man. I'd enjoy that. Like I wouldn't. That's like hot. I'll be honest. Like
Yes.
It-
Yes.
That is hot.
It is
Johnny
hot.
does-
Okay, it's
Not like dirty
con-
talk. That's
no, it's just
you're
in
vanilla.
that
It's okay.
context.
That's hot.
No, it's not fucking okay.
Johnny, you
That's hot.
trust me. You'll say some things that you'll maybe regret later.
Yeah.
But in the heat of the moment,
In the moment,
yo, that shit is ooh.
There,
I never
there-
had a childhood.
Muy
have you guys,
caliente.
have you guys seen that Reddit thread about the guy who like didn't know how to talk dirty? And so
Yes, it's like, yeah, you like that, you fucking.
yes, that's the one.
Yes, that one.
Oh no.
There's an
haven't-
SNL. There's an SNL
Sounds
skit
cursed.
about that
There is.
with
That
Donald
shit's
Glover.
hilarious.
Shout out to
Okay,
Mako
it's just
for
like-
showing me that.
In that, like, it's in the context. It was just
That's
so
hot.
out of nowhere.
Nah, bro, you don't get it, bro. You
Johnny
gotta be in
Johnny
the
just doesn't
situation.
get it. Like
Johnny, you gotta be in the situation, bro. You gotta be in the moment. You know,
And-
you feel.
and-
Bro, I haven't been outside for 2 fucking years.
That's
There's not
fair.
a lot more romantic than the rain, dude. It's
Yeah.
There's nothing.
great.
No, there's nothing
Oh,
more.
man.
Imagine being trapped under like because of the rain. Now I'm trapped because there's a fucking global pandemic. But you know, it's
Yeah,
that's
well,
fine.
There's
I
nothing
don't have-
more romantic than a
I don't
global
have a harem in
pandemic.
my house.
Do you have a
I
cousin?
can't relate.
Yeah,
COVID-
dude, do you have a cousin that can come over?
that was bad.
I
that was
do,
bad.
and I want to break your legs.
Yeah, I don't blame
has,
you.
COVID has become a certain a big part of a lot of porn plots recently.
Okay,
So-
so what are we
It is
talking about here?
We were talking about the scene
That's
that
fit.
also the shrine scene where another thing that we could point out too from it is that Kota, it's obviously again we don't know this at the time, but like his attraction to what's her name? God damn it, their names are so goddamn hard.
Which
no.
lolly?
No, it's Yuka, the cousin or whatever that he feels is the you once you find out his backstory, is it that he's falling in love with her now? Does he still have residual feelings that he isn't aware of because he's obviously forgotten them or blocked them from his memory? And also, does she must know, right? She knows what happened. She knows his family was viciously murdered and that he has memory loss. So she, is she maybe not taking advantage of him, but is she trying to like guide him in a certain direction? Like again, there's a lot of layers to that scene that I think that are fun to explore.
you bring up something I completely forgot that makes earlier in the episodes she's like, why don't you remember like the promise we made? Like why don't you
Yeah.
remember the festival? And then later in the show it's like, oh, because your entire family was murdered that night. It's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense why you forgot the promise. And she's like like visually upset about like him not remembering when they were 8.
Emotions make people irrational. I don't know, Pete. That's just
That's not
She's
not
but
justified for that. Yeah.
Well, she doesn't know that happened. Also, right?
She mentions
learned
it at the end.
She learns it later because she said the last time. So when they come back, she tells her, and the last time that she saw them was before they got murdered.
But she knows that his
Yeah.
dad and daughter were murdered in front of him.
She
knows
doesn't know
it.
how. She doesn't know how, like what happened to him though.
But she knows
Like-
that on that night his family was murdered.
And
For
she
sure,
knows
but
he
she
went to a hospital for a year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So she's
was that ever
aware of
told
the-
to her? I don't.
Oh, okay,
recall
well,
her-
here's the thing. If my uncle
I don't
and my niece were murdered, I would know about it. Like, no one has to tell. Like, you just know those things.
Oh,
They
she
say
knows-
they
well,
didn't
she
tell
didn't.
her
She
initially,
didn't.
and then they told
No,
her
she
later
knew.
on.
She didn't
well,
know
she's-
until she was told.
Okay,
Yeah, but
when they met.
she was told before this happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before she moved
knew
into
at
the
the start of the
house,
show.
she was aware of what happened. Yeah.
I'm just confused. Like, what I'm saying is, I don't know if she knew that he lost his memory.
That's
She-
what I think that's what
Because
happened.
I don't
think
think
she-
I don't think
she
that was ever
figured-
told to her.
Okay, I guess
That's not what-
that
that's
doesn't
not what he's
that's
getting
not what I brought up.
But I'm saying, like, you're saying it doesn't make sense, but it I mean, like,
No.
just
No,
because,
He's saying it
no.
does make sense. It makes sense that he didn't remember
Oh.
because the murders, and he's saying that it's maybe a little irrational, but
Okay.
like you can be irrational. I think it's fine. But he's just saying it's irrational of her to get upset about him not remembering this like small conversation he had moments before his fucking family was brutally dismembered in front of him.
that makes sense. Sorry, I'm psychotic.
It's okay. We
It's
got
all
there.
right.
Characters
We
are
got
psychotic,
there.
so.
Yeah. All right. Have you shared your favorite little scene?
My favorite bit, and it's just this is like it's just new saying new because I find new to be cute, and I don't find many things to be cute in this life. But new's cute.
I
A
also
little
found
annoying, but
cute.
it was cute. It was cute, but it was a little annoying at certain points.
At certain points, it was annoying, but new's cute, and like that warms my heart that I can find things cute.
Oh yeah, there's a good line with Nana too and Bondo, which is the guy on the beach. And this line, of course, happened on the beach when he was trying to like bribe her or persuade her into helping him, or was it vice versa? I think it was a little bit of both actually. They both kind of like one up each other at different points. His arm is like off, his like robotic arm's off or whatever, and she's like, "Oh hey, we have the same thing" or whatever. That's one of the cute parts about that scene. But then it's off again, and she's like, before they notice, you should probably put your arms back on. She just says it just straight up to him while he's like holding her at gunpoint or something with his other arm.
The the dynamic between like the stupidity of like the Dicloniuses and like their ability to cause like horrific events is really funny throughout the entire show because the show mirrors like it definitely is not intentional, but like the show is so jank in its emotional tone shifts. Like the romance is fine, but like the way it transitions into romance from like just regular scenes is fucking insane because
Yeah.
like you'll just be like they'll be having a cute moment at the fucking table eating dinner or some shit, and then like Yuka will like the music will change. She'll look like really sad and be like, "Why don't you look at me?" And it's
Yeah.
that shit's great.
Oh, yeah, like they're very naive. The Dionyclus or whatever you want.
Clonius, yeah.
Yeah, Clonius, pardon me. I think, well, yeah, I think they just have like a natural naivety to them that when they are then put in those situations where they do such horrific things and they just are so not aware of, or some of them at least are not aware of just how awful of a thing they're doing. I think you do bring
Yeah.
up a good point that it's
Yeah, well,
interesting. It's
I liked
entertaining.
the zoo scene a lot.
The
I
zoo
thought
scene.
her running to see the giraffe.
Oh, that was so cute.
adorable.
Oh my god, yeah.
I remember I have one more scene that I found really funny. It was so like they get the Karama as like the guy with the glasses working at the company, and then
Mhm.
like they say like, oh, plot twist, his daughter actually isn't dead. So then like they bring her out. So then like there's like the caretaker who's been taking care of her whole life. And then she was like,
Yes.
yeah, she'll listen to me. I've been
I'm
taking
her
care of
mother.
my whole life. I'm her mother. And then she pulls her she pulls her out. She's like, it's okay, I'm your mother. And then she's like, no, you're not, and fucking kills her.
Yeah, immediately just
It
mismembers her.
was just so fucking funny just seeing that.
In the dub, her voice was just very like, "No, you're not."
Yeah,
Like
no,
very
that
childlike.
was in the sub as well. So
Yeah, it was just immediately. It was just
And then-
like you knew she was about to
Yeah,
blow
and then-
up.
You
and
knew
sure
she
enough-
as soon as she said, like, anyone who was dumb enough to just voluntarily get within 10 feet of these things,
Yeah,
they were just
Also-
dead.
Also, I want to specify that like like her still alive half of her body like pressed a button that made her arm like go like explode. So that implies that like they put a bomb in every single one of her arms, which is pretty impressive, honestly.
Yeah, her arms and her legs and probably her chest or something.
Yeah.
I thought the scene with Nana and the other homeless girl, Mayu, on when she was like making fun of her for not knowing how money works, and so
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, like, well, of course you know the spell and everything." I thought that was really funny.
damn! It sounds like we all like this show.
That part was driving me crazy. I was just like, just tell her that she has a bunch of money. That's
Only a few parts.
She was teasing her. That was
I know
fun.
she was. It's just like, you have so much money. You could eat whatever you want. Just say you have a bunch of money to her, please. I feel bad for her.
Well,
Her
she doesn't
burning it.
know it's money though.
I know.
Yeah, but that was the
That's
whole
why I
bit.
wanted the girl to tell her that she has, because she mentions to Nana mentions to Mayu that she's like sad and she's cold, and if only she had 500 yen, she could eat.
If I can't find 500 yen, I can't even eat, even
Yeah.
while she still has millions of dollars in her
And
pocket.
Mayu like looks at her, and I don't know if it was like on purpose, but she's like, "Oh, that's a joke because you have a bunch of money." And then she realizes that she was burning it. It's like, "Oh, you don't know what money is."
Yeah, and her reaction to her burning it was very funny too, especially because it's the contrast of Mayu, who is very well educated, but obviously very and knowledgeable about what's going on, but she's also homeless. So she like sees the burning of the money as like a, oh my god, what the f are you doing? Like,
Not,
even more so than like a normal person might, where that like a person that isn't like starved or whatever might react to.
I like I like that Nana also like thinks she's fucking smart because like Miyu points out like, huh? Like you must not know, huh? She's like, what are you talking about? Of course I know about money, you dumb bitch. Like I'm dumb, yeah. Like
Yeah, no, I'm
I'm
very smart. Yeah, I'm
I'm
special.
very
Whatever. Yeah,
smart. Like, listen, you got 2 extra arms. Calm down.
yeah. Um, the first topic of discussion, if we're done talking about fans, all scenes that are serve a purpose, I think, as well in the tone of the show. One thing that I would love to talk about first is that to me, and I don't know if people will agree with me on this, so I'm ready to be
I got my pitchfork. I'm ready.
get your pitchforks ready. The way I phrased it in my notes was that the fan service is weirdly not that bad because it served some sort of purpose most of the time. So like just before we even start talking, Miles's point when she see what the shot scene, it's like, all right, that's just anime fan. Like, all right, that served no purpose. We don't care. But like, you know, the fan service that most people will criticize the show for having, or the fact that it exists in the show, and like obviously part of that is just that's why it has this like basically unrated like rating. But I don't think Lucy being naked in like a bunch of shots was that bad. I don't think any of the Dicloniuses being naked were ever really that bad and done in a way where it's like, you know, high school DxD levels of trying to get the panty shot or get the right angle to make her tits big or whatever. Like it was always done in a very just this is what the way they are because they don't realize they don't think about themselves as naked or they are and it was a way to differentiate them from like humans versus Diclonius in my eyes. I don't know how everyone else felt about that. All right, let me get my my shield
No,
ready. I'm
I
ready.
don't know. I mostly agree. I think it wasn't super necessary to do it when they were showing them as like prepubescent children.
Yeah, obviously I didn't like that
You
very much
know,
either,
but
but
like, I mean, it wasn't sexual. I agree with that. Like,
yeah.
they didn't do it in like, um, you know, a lot of shows will try to deal with like do themes similar to that to show the difference between humanity and the Dicloniuses, which I think is like the point, because clothes are always a very symbolic human thing. It's why the pigs at the end of Animal Farm are wearing them. But you know, or like,
Spoilers. Yeah.
sorry, man, it's just
Again,
um,
killing me today.
I don't
you
read
know,
those.
or like. It's like an issue I have with like Berserk, for example, like where its
Hold
rape
up.
scene is like very angled in like a tantalizing sort of way.
Ooh, I got some words maybe after the podcast about that.
Okay, well it is. I read the scene, so you know I think the
Okay.
show.
But you haven't read Berserk is the problem.
What?
Like
We
all of
we will
like
worry about it
all of
anyway.
Berserk. I'm wearing my Berserk
this-
hoodie right now, so
He's on his One
Okay.
Piece fan moment, right? That's a One
Yeah,
Piece.
that's
Yeah, that's very
no
One Piece.
criticizing of Berserk allowed.
you know. So I mean, I don't know. I agree with that. I don't think it was like, you know, I don't know, required, but I don't think it took anything away from the show, and I know what they were going for it. Then is, you know, like as far as anime doing something like that, I thought it was well executed.
Yeah, so that's maybe a better way to put it. That it wasn't sexualized to the extent that it normally would be in most anime. I guess. I guess that's a better way to put it for sure. But yeah, good. Glad to hear you agree. What did you guys think? The rest of
Well,
you guys, I should say.
Yeah, I don't have
I
like a
guess-
strong take on it. I thought
You
it
don't
was
have a
fine.
strong take either. You thought it was fine. All
It
right.
was fine. I didn't really like Johnny's cousin thing. This like the fan service. I didn't think that
Wait,
like
hold on a second.
I didn't think that played like a like whether we had the answers of like the cousin or like the nudity and stuff. It doesn't affect the story. It didn't change like my opinion on it in any way for this style of show.
You know, if my family somehow sees this, I'm probably gonna get arrested. But,
Man,
You'll be
nobody
okay.
sees this. Don't worry about
And
it.
then you'll get reincarnated into another world and celebrated as a.
I'm gonna get reincarnated into like fucking Berserk and just die.
Sorry, that was a Bishoko Tensei reference
Anyway.
and roast. But
It
either
wouldn't
way,
be that much. It wouldn't be that different. You're still jobless either way. But
yep.
Ooh.
From the unemployed man himself.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh my
sir.
goodness.
Like- Do you guys want me here?
Yeah, yes, we
Is,
do.
is,
Of course.
is this like a message?
No, this is not a coded message.
I only want you
I'm
for
not
your
even-
Smite duo. Like,
All right,
Yeah.
so about why we want to see titties in anime. Okay, so like
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So about why we want to see titties in anime. So like it does like I agree that like it's not. I don't think it's necessary exactly, but like I'm not really bothered by it. I think there's worse things you can do in anime, like a lot worse. And it's just like the fan service. I didn't really mind it either. Again, like it wasn't meant to like be sexualized or anything. Like it wasn't meant to make you horny, you know, like other shows.
Right.
So yeah, it's just like
Well, but
it's
dismemberment was for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. I
See,
mean, I know you and Dead Children, so like you know,
Yeah.
hand in hand.
And I think but I also think part of the way that to build off of that is that it had them naked partly to mirror what humans before succumbing to temptation. But no, Adam and Eve were naked before they realized their shame and everything, right? Like
you know what I think, and this is like just going back to a conversation me and Has had before this episode, is that like this anime was in a sense kind of made to show that anime wasn't just made for kids, because at the time,
That's not exactly what I said. The
No, no,
purpose of this
yeah,
anime
but-
was.
no,
It was more
no,
of a
but I'm saying-
generalization of the era.
yeah, of course. But like I'm saying that like I feel like they did that to make the show more mature.
I think
See,
the
I don't-
dismemberment and stuff
I
would have
think-
done that. Yeah, that's why.
Or like
I-
they just wanted to take it to the next level. But either way, it's not like to me anyways. It's not that much of a.
See, I
difference.
thought it was very clearly like, especially using Latin in your OP. I don't think there's ever been another anime that I've seen that has had Latin.
Probably some Latin and like OSTs.
Well,
and
like
stuff, but, yeah,
specifically mentioned or whatever, right? But like, and usually, what is Latin usually associated with?
Rome,
Rome. What is Rome usually associated with?
paganism.
Pizza.
Yeah, totally paganism.
Killing-
Yeah,
killing Christians,
really
I don't know.
pagan. Yeah, exactly. No, Christianity.
Copying movement.
Christianity and Catholicism. So I think that
Gladiators.
this, I do, yes, that too. I think that this was intentionally meant to symbolize like pre. Well, yeah, okay. I really do think that this was meant to at least like somewhat allure to the the pre-serpent and post-serpent humans, I guess, right? Where they suddenly Adam and Eve didn't feel shame for their naked bodies until after they succumbed to their and realized that they were human, realized what they were, and became like aware of themselves, right? Like, and I think that that's part of that is they're trying to say that the Diclonius are just not aware. They don't feel shame, or they don't feel certain things because they are not humans. They haven't, well, in the human's case, they hadn't done the mortal sin, right? Or the original sin. Pardon me, not mortal sin. Damn it! I'm showing that I went to a public school, not a Catholic school, right now, Miles. I apologize.
Okay, I'm sitting here pretending like I know any of this.
Anyways, I
Charter.
think that's like
Yeah.
interesting. I just think that because they're not all shown as like naive and unaware of sin as a concept, that I don't know if I see that interpretation, but it could definitely be like allusions to that. I think it's just to show their like otherness, that they don't have the same
Mhm.
cares and priorities as humans do, because they don't care about being naked. You know.
That's
So
completely
like,
true.
you know,
I
similar
just
to what
thought-
you're saying, they don't have that shame, but I
Mhm.
don't think it's necessarily like a Eden innocence sort of deal.
I thought
Yeah.
with the name Elfen Lied, being in again, I believe that's like sort of Germanic, sort of Latin, like that you could maybe trace some roots something here and there, but then especially the Latin OP where again it's like showing Lucy and also lots of other Christianic, like, well, maybe not Christianic, but they were art pieces from the Renaissance and like from
German for Song of the Elves.
yeah. Like I thought that was
Oh.
I expected, again, this is one of the reasons why I thought this show would be really cool to watch, was I was expecting some allusions to Catholicism or Christianity as a whole, I guess should be really what I should say. And I thought that there was a little bit of it. I didn't think obviously I'm not saying this was like, I don't know, name an anime off the top of my head that like it's Seven Deadly Sins, where it's like literally like the seven deadly sins of Christianity, whatever, that are referenced throughout. But like, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know.
the OP is filled. I mean, it's done in like a iconography style, right? Like a
Right.
Catholic icon sort of deal, like the Eastern Church. Um, with how they do all the gilded halos and everything. It's
Yep.
really cool. I mean, I definitely think there's some of it there. I think they sort of did it as like a coating, more than like a super deep allusions to. Like, I don't think it's like an inherently Christian story or anything.
Mm-mm.
I think that they used it as like trapping, sort of like Evangelion does, right? Like
Which is
where
annoying. Yeah.
I,
Because I want it to be a story, but damn it, it's not.
I
Yeah.
I think you can still like I, I don't know much about the Bible, but I think there's like some stuff there, but like the this is a joke, but I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure it's a
get
joke.
offended by anything. I
No,
promise
this
you
is
guys.
I no
Like,
I'm just trying
The
to like
children die in the Bible.
I'm the world died actually, quite a few of them. How many people were on
Okay,
Earth
so
at the time?
Like
Um,
13.
yeah, so
so
13 people.
all of 13 people. Okay, sweet.
Yeah,
a lot of people actually died with the. If you're, I assume you're
Oh,
talking
over
about the
13
flooding.
died.
The
God
flood.
sends bears and
Oh.
kills 40 people because they made fun of someone for being bald.
that's
Yeah.
tough.
He
Yeah.
deserves
It's
it,
God
honestly.
for you know. And just,
The Old Testament
Old
was not
Testament
a.
God was really something else.
He was
Old Testament
really a
Old
jerk.
Testament God was a S tier melty blood character. But like in this
Oh, I like
show, like towards the end, especially when the daughter fights Nana, right? And she like holds her up in like this cross, like sort of thing,
Yeah.
as like a playful thing. I think there's like something to be said because I think one of the things that is sort of said throughout the story is that like the people who made the Dicloniuses don't really understand what they made, right? Like they made that they're figuring it out as they go along, and they sort of like made these human weapons essentially, or like bioweapons. Um, that unleash like a you could say they're like a fucking flood on their this is really shitty interpretation of the Bible, forgive me. But like they're like the flood or something, and like I don't know, like to wipe out humanity. Like what is Lucy said it'll take like 6 months to wipe out humanity if she wanted
I think
to.
like 3 to 4 years is what she said.
3 to 4 years? I could have sworn it was like 6
A
months.
short period of time.
It was
in
a
the
very
grand scheme of
short
She's
period
things.
of
gonna make
time.
everyone horny.
Yeah. And like at the end of it, like they realize
Fun.
like the error of their ways.
Like literally.
Sort of like
Yeah.
or like God looking at like his creations, like wow, like humans are shitty. Let me send the flood. If you wanted like the loosest interpretation of it, but honestly, I just think
So
yeah.
you're telling me God sent down a big titty anime girl to cause the end of the world?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
you
but
not
I
read
that's
mean,
that?
after Genesis. That's in
yeah.
That's in
that's
the
in
New
Song of
Testament,
Songs.
right? Yeah. So who
Oh.
knows?
Well, that
Well,
kind of is in the New Testament, if
Yeah.
depending on your interpretation of
yeah.
Revelation.
That's true.
So you're telling me watching anime is not a sin because it's in the
It was
Bible.
the Makoto Shinkai fucking
Yeah.
translation of the Bible. Okay.
Yeah, that's right next to the King James version on my shelf. The new
Makoto-
international version, the King James translation, and the Makoto Shinkai translation of the Bible.
Man, we are boring the death
Is
out
new-
of Johnny and Pete right now
Is
with our
new
talks
new?
about Bible stuff. My
It's
goodness.
new in the Bible.
Hey, you guys can talk. That's fine.
New
It's fun. I just think it's funny that I feel bad because you guys clearly don't know as. Of course, I think Miles, you went to Catholic
I don't
school,
know shit
right?
either.
Yes.
Well,
I
you
did.
know enough. It sounds like Has to at least like talk about it. So I'm kind of impressed,
I mean,
and to see the
look-
illusions that I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I mean, look at
or
me.
again, maybe not
Do I look like
illusions
I
is
know
the right
everything?
word, but whatever.
Illusions
No.
is fine.
I think illusions is like it. And again, just like with Eva, if they just did it because it looks cool, I
It's
don't think
cool.
that that's a good enough excuse if
Nah,
they
it's cool.
actually end up lining up and making sense. I don't think that you can just say that these things that were meant to look cool. Oh yeah, the Spear of Longinus just happened to be the name we picked for the the weapon that ended up killing the big like the most dangerous angel. Like, oh wow, what a convenient. Oh, that was just because we thought it was cool. Like, no, you can't just say that. I don't think. But
There
whatever.
are very fewer cooler ways to kill someone than crucifixion. I'll say that.
I love it when anyone who gets crucified in anime, I'm always just like,
Have I got an
yes,
anime
symbolic.
for you?
Oh yeah,
It's called Higurashi when they cry. And there's
Damn.
a crucifixion
never
in
heard of it.
it.
Yeah, well, it's
Have you
actually a
talked about
Bible
it
story.
before? I don't know.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever talked about it before. This might be my first time bringing it up.
Yeah.
Naked women, though. Yeah, I definitely think it wasn't like sexualized, and I appreciate that. I think it was just an animalistic, like a view of how they treated them, because
Right.
the show is very over exaggerated. I don't know if it's in the manga. It doesn't seem that way from what I've seen, but like it's really exaggerated. So I can only assume that the nakedness is to only further exemplify like how shitty humans have treated Diclonius.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. That's a completely fair like way to interpret it too. That's why
But
I just thought it was interesting.
But Bible study Tuesday, that'll be fun to talk about Elfen Lied.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure
Bring a
to
DVD to class to show everyone.
just to show my priest. Yeah, like, yeah, what's up? Like, what do you think about this series? Yeah, I'm sure that would go over great. All right, so we talked about one aspect of the show, which was the nudity. I guess let's talk about some of the things that people necessarily didn't like. Is there?
Where do you want to start?
Pete, take it away.
I will say it was. I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but it was hilarious. I was watching episode 12 with my brother, and we were eating dinner or whatever together, and it was the scene where they're walking away on the bridge, and they explode. The dad and Mariko, and me and my brother just both start gut laughing. And my brother goes, "Is this a comedy?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Do people think this show is good?" And I said, "Unfortunately," because I legit thought that scene was supposed to be set up to be this dramatic end of the tale of father and daughter. They're finally together, and they just explode, and I'm gut laughing. And that was just one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in anime. I thought that episode in general was just trash, along with episode 8. I think they're both 1 out of 10 episodes. I thoroughly just hated those 2 episodes so much. And I can go on, but I think other people have other things to say as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 main issues with this show. As much as I enjoyed this show, there are 2 glaring issues in my enjoyment, which is why I don't have it super high for my enjoyment. One is the length of the show. The show does not give itself an appropriate amount of time to explore any of the themes or arcs that it opens. As a result, certain arcs are closed off a little, like with the mother or with the daughter and father thing, like a little randomly and jaggedly. And a bit of the development in sort of like scene to scene where I was talking about earlier, like transitioning from tone to tone is done really not well, because it has to be so quick, and I don't feel like I'm ready for it. My second main issue with this show is the dialogue. The dialogue, while you are definitely able to grasp what is trying to be conveyed to the audience through it, it at times is so bad.
It's
Or like
distractingly bad.
it's distractingly bad to the point where like you're not looking at what it's saying, you're just looking at how it's saying it, and it's just funny. You know what I mean? So
Oh
like
yeah.
a lot
Well,
of the
like half of
things,
those things we laughed at
yeah,
earlier, right, are
like you know
because
what I
of the
mean?
dub, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like it's
It's not-
hilarious.
The sub is the dialogue in the sub, and I don't know if it's just being shittily translated or whatever.
That's what I
but-
interpret as like a bad sub from 2004 too, because like like nowadays almost everything is usually well translated, and usually people are getting angry about like how
It's
they
too literal or whatever.
it's too
Yeah.
literal versus not. Versus in this case, I think it was like literally just like shittily done or almost too freely interpreted. You know, like I think that that you can make that case with this show in both the sub and the dub. But go ahead, Miles. Sorry.
So like because I started on the sub and then people were like talking about how the dub was like good, was like well, I think what like Has told me. So like
It is.
look at that, like, yeah, I lied to you again smile coming out of Has.
So like
So
hold on. I told him the balls line as evidence that it was good, and he believed me. So
anyways,
It grew on me by the end. I gotta say, the dub did
so
grow
I
on
switched
me.
to the dub, but it's not like the sub also had bad dialogue. So I don't think it's
It
like
wasn't. It wasn't
like
much
honestly the
better.
dub had I think probably like a better translation, though the voice acting was worse. So
Maybe that might be fair.
you know, so I think it was just sort of like depending on what you were trying to go for. But you know, to go back to what Pete was talking about, I mean, I agree with like Haz's point and Pete's point on that like father-daughter scene. Like that's something that we for sure probably should have cared about. But like I hated that man, and apparently I hate that man because of changes that were made from the manga plot.
Yes.
But he was just so like down all the time, didn't think he could do anything to change anything, was like meets his daughter, is gonna kill his daughter, then his daughter talks him out of it, and then he's like, I guess if she's gonna die, I might as well die too. And like doesn't even like I don't know. You would think like you've already sacrificed all of this stuff and like given your daughter like 5 or 8 or whatever like years of essentially just being tortured and kept in a sensory deprivation chamber, that you would like attempt to get her like a meaningful life. Like try like yep, maybe you both blow up, you know? Like that might happen, but maybe blow up trying, you know? Break the cell phone. Try to get away. See what you can do about it. Like you don't have to win. They don't have to win, but like you're just gonna give up. That's the point you're gonna give up.
The way I interpreted that, and again, my opinion of this did change after I read in the manga what he actually ended up doing, which I thought was much better. But the way I interpreted that scene was him saying, "I have to do what's best for humanity, which is not what's best for me and my daughter." And he was finally like resorting or resigning himself to the fact that he had to do what was in humanity's best interest, which was again, get rid of all the Diclonius. And in this case, this was his best and most merciful way to do it, where, you know, he had his daughter and was like, you know what, you and I can at least die together or we can move on and not, you know, I get some sort of redemption through death, which of course, is that the same as is that the best kind of redemption? No, of course not. Like, but that's what he resigned himself to. And I think that and maybe viewed him taking his daughter down with him as his as like a also him redeeming himself. But again, the manga was much better. I agree.
This brings me back to like the mixed messages that the show sends me on the whole nature versus nurture thing, because like if the idea is that killing all the Dicloniuses is inherently good for humanity, that really strikes a nature thing to me, right? Like regardless of what you do to these people, how you raise them, what you can provide for them in the future, you know, like it's basically saying there's no world where I can provide a life for my daughter which prevents her from being a monster, right?
Yeah.
Based on that interpretation you just gave me. And that to me is confusing because I know what the show is trying to tell me, which is that like no one is inherently evil and like things happen. Like we see why Lucy becomes the way Lucy is, right? The other girls are tortured, so we know why they're weird and beholden to people because they've been held in these like weird, like not natural environments. But like we never see very actively anyone getting over it in a with a struggle. So Nana gets over it very sort of, she's just like, oh, as long as I'm not like trying to kill Lucy, I'm like fine. But you know, with the guy's daughter, and everything, it's just like I would have liked for someone to have fought for these people at some point. Like the woman scientist tries to for 2 seconds before Lucy is chops her in half when she's like, wait, like she's interacting with humans completely normally is like the entire premise of our experimentation based on a lie, and then she gets killed by one of them. I don't know. I just like it. The show sends me mixed messages, I feel like. And from the sounds of it, that's the fault of the adaptation. So I would blame it on, like, it sounds like they have to fit things in to 13 episodes, and they wanted to, instead of just like leaving a cliffhanger or something, they wanted to like tie it up. But the way that they tied it up was sloppy, and to me, a lot of the times undermined the own message that I think they were trying to get at.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that scene is one that really speaks to me about that. That's like the quintessential example of how the show does that.
I agree. I think a lot of the decisions made in terms of, that's why I say like I feel like there should have been more, just because I feel like if there was more, that they would allow things to breathe and stuff. There's also like, because it's so quick, I think so, like with Nana, right? And like how happy she is, or like how well adjusted she is, quote unquote. Um, she's not really that well adjusted. She's like, she like hinges her whole personality on her father figure, which isn't her father, because she's been tormented her entire fucking life, and this is her only spark of hope. And then like she essentially goes against him by like attacking Lucy at a point, and it's like fighting for herself, and like that's like she like, I guess, kind of becomes it, but like it's never really explicitly like an arc or anything, and like it, as a viewer, you don't really register that. At least I didn't until I thought about it for like now. um so yeah, I feel like this show should have been longer. Like
It could have definitely
it,
used a
it,
couple more
it,
episodes.
it needed more, which is odd because usually if a show is bad, or like people consider it bad, the solution is fuck the show, right? I just feel like it's not bad, it's just missing half of it.
It doesn't even like
See,
end
the-
really.
it depends.
Yeah,
'Cause
No, it
it's
doesn't.
the question
It doesn't
arcs
end.
without the answer arcs. That's what
Yeah.
it is. It's
So-
just the question arcs.
Yeah,
It
like
doesn't
I mean,
end. It pissed me off. I was very annoyed.
yeah, that, like I know that's like a big, like it wasn't exactly as bad as like House of No Kuni,
Yeah,
but
it gave some answers, right?
yeah,
Like
like
it
we
gave
had
enough
some,
to, yeah.
yeah, but like Lucy, at least in this interpretation, is pretty dead.
Yeah.
Except for the clock thing, but whatever. 'Cause did anyone think the clock start working again was like a maybe Lucy is still alive hint?
I that's the issue. We don't have enough information.
And we're never gonna find out because there's no way in hell the show's getting
Well,
season
we
two.
can
I mean, we
find
have
out.
the
Oh, you
manga.
can read the manga. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
well-
ends differently in the manga, though, doesn't it?
Sort of.
It's not really. The only main difference is, I think, Kurama's decision to kill himself. I think a lot of what happened in
Wait,
the
so he
anime
doesn't
happens
kill
with more.
himself in the anime.
He doesn't. No, he
In the
decides to
manga.
atone by living and like
Yeah.
fixing his mistakes,
But like,
which
does
is the correct
daughter
answer. I didn't read about the daughter, but I assume she does not die either.
She doesn't in the moment. And
Which
Yeah.
is good because
and-
like I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
Ugh.
again, it's out of her control, though. You know, she's not a.
He's not a Zahando, so yeah.
I interpreted the clock working as, yeah, that Lucy still was able, like, well, that Lucy, not only Lucy was alive, but New, you know, because like when you think about it, like it's kind of tragic that New, who is a separate personality, which of course you could argue is that a person or not, but like it's a separate consciousness almost, right? That exists and starts developing attachments to our main cast and starts being curious and exploring things. And it's like, again, this is spoiler for the manga, so mute me for 30 seconds if you don't want to know. But it's revealed in the manga that Lucy knows and is aware of New and like that other form, and like not the, and it's not that like she's repulsed by it or anything, but she is very aware that what it is, and like is trying to actively fight against it. But in the anime, they never actually fully reveal that. They kind of just leave it open.
A lot of things are like you pick up through dialogue, but again, like the dialogue is so bad that sometimes it's like because
You
like
can't
they
tell.
also they actively refer to New and Lucy as separate people all the time, and like
Mhm.
other characters in the show recognize they're two separate people, but like Lucy herself never confirms that, um, and like
Mhm.
the parallels between Lucy and Nana would make you think that they're not because Nana doesn't become a different person; she just her it's like the
Well, Mew comes out because she gets bonked in the head.
She gets hit by the shot, and then it
Yeah,
causes her brain to like just
yeah,
malfunction or create a
yeah.
separate
Like, I
personality.
but
don't
like
think that's like an inherent thing about being a Diclonius. I think
It
it's
isn't
just because she
no,
has brain damage.
yeah,
correct.
I was thinking more of like they actively zoom. Um, I this is how I'm interpreting it right now, but like they actively zoom into the eye, and like there's a shift in the eye to represent a shift in personality in Lucy, but there's also like that same shift in you, but it's not for like a personality thing or not you,
Not you.
sorry,
Nana.
Nana, but it's not for a personality thing. It's more of like Nana is being her own person. So it's like the eye, like it's hard because they're separate people, but it feels like it's a natural progression of Lucy's character, or like it's trying to be that because Nana, when she like finally decides to attack back, that's like Nana releasing herself from like the commands of other people, right? Like she's becoming her own person, regardless of like whether she's doing something right or wrong. I'm not gonna say she's doing something right, but like the moment is supposed to be like this is what her father told her not to do. But fuck that. I'm gonna do me because I'm a person too. You know what I mean? I have to defend myself. Um, and the same thing with like Lucy. So it's a little confusing because like from that way of paralleling it, it would seem that New is also Lucy and Lucy is New. Um, but another spoiler, 30 seconds, mute. Lucy and New get reincarnated. So
In the manga?
in the manga, they are reincarnated as separate people. Um,
Oh wow, I hate
Oh,
it.
so there's just a normal girl that runs around just saying nothing but new.
Yeah, New is like the worst character in the history of anything.
New's cute. You
Like
fucking hate her.
the
She's adorable
There's
too.
like three worst.
New's
There's like
fuck.
three worst characters in that house alone.
New's
Fair enough.
fucking adorable. You're a hater.
Like this is like the worst love triangle in the history of love triangles because
It's up there.
like
That's
there's
the
no
account of a
reason to
love
be
triangle.
threatened by New since she's essentially a cat. She offers nothing as far as human affection or conversation. There's
But
no reason to be attracted to
She
her.
makes the
I
cousin
agree.
feel jealous.
She makes
Yeah,
her
which is
jealous because she's hot.
insane.
She
But
makes her
then
jealous because she's hot and it's another woman living with you. I don't know. I feel like
I mean,
that.
she's not
Yeah,
a
but
person.
yeah, she's like
feel-
I
not
understand
mentally
your
there.
argument, but my point is a
Pers-
emotional person not gonna that's already
Nah, you
concerned
could.
about whether you're gonna get your guy or not.
I think
Like
a
you're
lot of people are
already
hot. I don't want to like have a love triangle with them.
and that's you, Pete. I don't know. I think there's a
I
lot
think
of
that's
people.
everybody, Pat.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be. I legitimately think no one who is at all a normal person would be jealous.
Yeah, I
think
mean,
I can see them
it's
getting jealous.
look.
I mean,
That's like being
I
jealous
mean,
of like
I've-
an actual cat.
Oh, like
I've seen
Yeah.
some psychotic. I've seen look
people kill
anime
other people's dogs. just
anime
for stupid shit.
anime and like psychotic love like affiliation is like bread and butter. I mean, I've been watching Heaven's Feel. Sakura is essentially new or not new, sorry, Yuka. Just and that's recent, so people
Well,
are
it's not
threatened
recent.
by
It's actually from around the same time.
Heaven's Feel. Oh well,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Original.
Fair enough. That is fair. So I guess it's just that a mark of the times,
Well, Sakura is not related, so
Yeah, she
We don't, I
Plus.
guess we don't know if
No.
Yuka is either or not, but we'll see.
Well, Sakura-
It's also irrelevant to the story.
yes, it
Yeah.
is. I thought
Malhazar is the cousin. So,
yeah, I don't know. So my only other complaint myself with the series was the I didn't love like Has was talking about with the pacing. I agree that the pacing could have been a lot better, but there was one specific moment. I was thinking it was. Pardon me. I just lost my train of thought because we brought up something else. Well, like when we were talking about New, I thought it was interesting to see her as a completely separate personality and trying to like figure out like what was going on and like she was there to make the story happen, right? Like she exists because otherwise like Lucy never could like Lucy and her like Lucy personality could never walk around town and not like be
Murder
either murdering everyone or drawing so much tension and everything. I thought that was I don't, I really didn't hate New as much as you guys. I'm kind of surprised. I thought it was
I love
I
New.
think
dumb
it's
at
just
first.
Miles that hates him.
It might just be me. I mean,
I
I
think
don't
it
like
is.
hate her. I hate the situations that she was put
The
in.
the
like-
relationship with her definitely weak. That
That's
I
fair.
100% agree with you, Miles. But like, I love
because
her
like,
as a
what's his
character.
name? Coda says like, New is like one of the most amazing people I've ever met at the end, and it's
Yeah,
like,
he does.
Does he actually
Why?
say that?
I mean, she's
does.
fine, but she has no substance to
Well,
her.
amazing in like a
In
amazing
like
doesn't
a
always mean like a good way, but like in a fantastical way. You know what
Like,
I mean? Where
like
it's
yeah.
in a
like
horny way. But...
no, no, in
it's a
like
very odd choice of words.
it
Yeah.
is.
I understand.
she's
like,
kind-hearted. She
I can
wants to
under-
make him happy, but like,
Naive. Like,
yeah,
Also-
but she's just like, I mean, you actually have just never had a conversation with her because she's
Yeah.
incapable of having a conversation.
I'm gonna.
because
She learns like 3 words. So.
yeah,
gonna
she can
blame-
say Coda, yes, and me, you. Or
I'm gonna blame that on translation and good faith because
okay.
I look, she's like presented
She's
as like
like outer Mocha, but worse.
Okay, so like don't ever don't fucking ever.
We're not,
I don't know,
we're not
guys.
gonna
I
get
think
out of her
honestly,
with
I
one.
think the way that you're talking about this show, it's basically exactly Rosario Vampire.
So like the way you need to stop talking about all of that.
No,
but, like,
wait,
she's
no,
a-
Bob.
yeah.
No, this show is different from Rosario Vampire because in Rosario Vampire there's panty shots, but in this show the girls don't wear panties, so you can't have panties.
That's not
there
true.
are two panty shots in this.
Yeah, there's.
So, yeah, how many are there in the first episode of Rosario Vampire?
Like 9 or
I
something.
I have the note somewhere of the list of panty
Yeah.
shots. It's like 7 in episode 1.
I'm gonna blame it on translation because New throughout the show is her purpose is just to show that like Dicloniuses aren't inherently fucking evil or some shit, right?
Just
She's like
brain damage. Like, this is a question. What is
I'm
the
not-
inner Diclonius monologue that Lucy has telling her to destroy all of humanity?
Probably just new 50
her fucking-
times over.
it's her fucking trauma, when she
Her
was
trauma.
wrapped up.
Interesting,
You know,
because according to the manga, it's the inner voice of all Diclonius have that tells them to kill humanity.
So
Wait, what
like
the
I'm gonna
fuck?
it's the Ishmael. You ever play Metal Gear Solid 5? It's a big boss. So it's Ishmael.
The guy from Moby Dick?
Yes. You should play Metal Gear Solid 5.
I'm still confused.
But this isn't the manga.
Yeah.
So
Touche.
we're gonna back up and give.
All right. I think we'll step back and we can. I guess it's a good thing someone recommended this show because we had a good discussion about it.
I thought this show was fun to discuss. I think that I don't know. I don't think it's like, I'm not on Pete's level here.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Wow.
I didn't even get to 10% of what I wanted to say.
Just make a part 2 where all you do is just shit on Elfen Lied for 20 hours. I don't know.
Actually, if
Yeah.
you want to hear my thoughts on Elfen Lied, you should join the Discord. Links in the description below.
Oh,
sick plug.
Sick plug. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say sick plug, Pat, but then I realized I got made fun of for that. I have like some Stockholm syndrome from last weekend's Cards Against Humanity, and
I don't think
I
that's
decided to stop
Stockholm
myself.
syndrome. I think that's something else.
What is that?
Well, he's still here.
He's still
so-
here, so it's Stockholm
No,
syndrome.
Isn't Stockholm
It's
syndrome the one where you
Stockholm
fall in
syndrome.
love with your kidnapper?
Yes.
Well, it's when you have like
Yeah.
affection for the people who have like
And-
kidnapped you.
Oh,
Or
so
you-
we've
He decided
we've
to moderate
kidnapped
this.
Pat. That's what it is.
Yeah, and he still decided to moderate despite
Yeah,
all.
yeah, I
okay,
did.
okay.
What a good guy as Pat is, isn't it?
Yeah, I got
Put it on
bullied
the
way
card.
more than
Good
you,
guy,
so I don't know
Pat.
what you're on about.
Good guy, Pat. All right, back into it. All right. But yeah, I guess it's a good thing he recommended this guy Pat. That's good. He recommended Elfen Lied because yeah, we had some fun discussing it. Let's get to our final thoughts and our final scores. This is gonna be all over the place, and I'm very curious to see where we go with this. Miles, what are your final thoughts? Anything we didn't touch on as well?
Ooh, I think we got to touch on. Oh, I didn't need to say. Kayla wanted me to say this is the worst show we've watched because a dog dies.
That was
So
very sad.
I think
Yeah.
you're watchful
Yeah.
on Alchema.
I wrote
So-
down when that dog died. I wrote down these kids got everything that they deserved coming to them. I don't know.
I didn't feel that bad for them.
I didn't feel bad at all. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I mostly got to what I wanted to say. There's more stuff we could talk about, but like I think that the show is mostly kind of confused. The dialogue is weird. The stuff like the relationship issues and stuff, I thought was just like there were real big misses for me. But there was some like real Hinamatsuri energy I liked with the homeless girls hanging out together. So that was fun.
Yeah.
There are definitely some bright spots in the show. A lot of the show are just like, especially because it has like a lot of early anime tropes, and those make me want to jump off a bridge and kill myself. It's a miss for me, but people who have been anime fans longer than me, who like those tropes, who don't think we should throw them all out the window like I do, will probably not dislike the show as much as me. So I'm going to give it a 4. It's not for me.
Oh.
I do think that there is room out there to give it anywhere up to a 7 if it's for you.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I don't know. I just didn't. I mean, but we fundamentally disagree about how it portrays its themes.
Yeah.
So like I don't think it does like a good job at all, and you do. So that's gonna improve your whole basis of thinking about it.
Right.
Like I'm not. I don't think this thing is unforgivable. I think it commits sins for me, and I think it's also not like the most well executed thing in the world. So like 4 is bad. I think the show is bad. It doesn't mean it's like irredeemable or like a pile of garbage. I just thought it was bad.
Completely fair. All right, so 4. Wow. I did not expect to be that low. I thought you were gonna be like 5 or 6, to be honest.
I was going between 4 and 5. I probably would have done 6 up until the last episode or 2, but I think the ending is just too. What happened? Like they introduce a bad guy. This is the thing we didn't talk about. They introduce the fact that the director is a Diclonius, and then they like think he's like they allude to him like having some master plan, and then like that gets dropped, and so like it's probably not the show's fault because back in the day you didn't have the budget to get 2 seasons all the time and all of that stuff. But unfortunately, I'm looking at it through a lens of nowadays where
100%.
if you sneeze, you get 3 cores. Fucking Rising of the Shield hero has 3 cores.
Yeah.
Handshaker's got 2 cores. You just like accidentally can get 2 cores nowadays. So
Yeah. This was also from before anime got good for you, so there you go. Like timing wise,
it's true.
So this was doomed to fail from the get go, I think, with you. But yeah, that's completely fair. All right, Johnny, what have you got?
All right. So for me, it's again it's a lot of the issues I have that Miles had. I have as well. I really didn't like the pacing or like the sudden tone shifts. It's like one day they're having dinner, second day someone's arms getting chopped off. Just like everyday stuff.
I
But
love
it's not-
that. I'm sorry.
And then also, so like, but like, here's the thing. For me, it's like I don't just because a show is like bad doesn't mean like I hate it. Like I'm still a degenerate at times. Like bad shit. Sometimes it's just fun. It's just I don't like it when a show tries to be something it's not. And then for me, I felt like this show was trying to take itself too seriously while also having panty shots and stupid stuff like that. And it's just like the back and forth with it just really didn't sit well with me. There's a lot worse shows out there. Like this show also didn't like offend me on a personal level like some other shows have in the past. So because of that, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. There's a lot better, but there's also a lot worse.
5 out of 10. Okay. Pete, what have you got? Here we go.
Ooh, so we only touched on things that, not that many things I hate, but there's a lot of things I really disliked. I hated the dog scene. I thought the drama was so forced to turn children into bullies, into psychopathic killers. I really disliked that scene. I didn't like the ending. Episode 12 and 13 I had major problems with. Episode 1 through like 7 were pretty enjoyable. I still want to say that part I did enjoy, and that's why I'm not going to give it like the lowest score of all time. But kind of like Miles, I'm looking at it through the lens of right now, and right now this is just a really bad show. I wanted my Mal to see the type of shows that I have listed at the same score, which were White Album 2, Non-Baka, the Trinity 7 movie, and the only shows that are like worse than this are Blood Blockade Battlefront, which is still today. It's not as bad as Blood Blockade Battlefront. Orange Arrow Manga Sensei and Do You Love Your Mom and Her Multi-Target Hit Attack. So isn't
that bad.
This is like a top 5 to 8 worst anime I've ever seen in my entire life.
You forgot Record of Ragnarok.
That's number 1. That's not even like on my like completed list because it's in the drop and it's at a 1. That's the worst anime of all time. This is just like a really bad show. It didn't really have a whole lot of redeeming qualities for me that I enjoyed. Like looking at it critically, I just thought it was like a bad show for the most of the time, but enjoyable. And then at the end, I thought it was just bad, like ad-lib bad. I'm giving it a 3. And yeah, this is the second worst watch club. I think Non-Baka is better than the show.
Wow. That's a lot worse than of a scathing review.
Yeah, I hate the show. I hate the show a lot.
Man, it sounds like you just can't relate to the character themes at all. And
well, we didn't even touch on it how awful the characters are in this show.
The main character is like
I liked one character. I like the homeless girl, Mayu. That's it. Everybody else I despised. I hated Coda. The whole just like the confession scene with Lucy and Coda. It's like, hey, I need to leave. I murdered your family. And he's like, no, wait, I can't describe it, but I don't want you to leave. And then they kiss. I wanted to just metaphorically blow my brains out. That was one of the
not
worst.
Exactly what happened.
One of the worst. Happened. I mean,
He said, I don't want you to kill more people.
Yeah, I know, but it was just so bad because like the episode before, he like jumps on her.
The kiss is weird there, I will say.
The kiss is weird, but like there's the episode before he like jumps.
The blushing scene.
He like jumps on her to like give away the bullet, and they're like really close to each other, and then they both start blushing. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? You're in a firefight, and you're like, oh my god, we're so close right now. It's like, are you like you just murdered like 100 people?
Maybe they got a flashback to their childhood.
Okay, the flashback to their childhood is Lucy killing his family.
He hadn't remembered everything. He hadn't remembered that yet, though. So at that point,
he had. Yeah, it was right after that. Yeah,
it was right after that.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was like literally. He's like, wait, you killed like everyone I've ever cared about. You like ruined my life. Then the guy starts shooting at him. He tackles her. They look at each other and blush.
Yeah,
I guess it occurs to him. Though to me is that it occurs to him, oh, she's the kid that I saw when I was a child or whatever, and now he remembers. I don't know.
Which is weird to me, because I would always view her as the girl who murdered my family, like regardless of we had a friendship or not, because that outweighs the friendship.
Yeah, but
he lived quite a few years after that, though, unaware of what happened.
If me and Miles are friends, and he murders my family, and then I see him 10 years later, the first thing I'm going to remember and always will remember is that Miles killed my family.
But then we get to make out.
And then we make out, baby.
Wait, not about him not shutting the fuck up about Higurashi?
I mean,
that's the first thing he'll remember is me never shutting the fuck up about Higurashi.
Like
and the second thing he'll remember is that I killed his family.
Yeah. So 3 out of 10, that's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough. All right, Haz, what have you got?
Yeah, this anime I think is you either love it or hate it. I have a lot of criticisms about the show, mainly in the way that it was adapted. I think a lot of my issues are also products of the time regarding dialogue. I don't know how the writing is in the manga though. Could be wrong, but it seems like the manga has a bit more of a quality boost to the anime. I think even outside of like any thematic things, right? Because there's like there's fun to be had there, right? If you're into anime of that time, you're gonna like Elfen Lied. It's just how it is. Hits all the beats. Worst offenders in it are like dialogue, pacing with like tone shifts, really awkward. Would I recommend it? If you can let anime dictate your view of it, then for sure, right? Like if you have a view of anime before you get into the anime, like before you even watch it, right? You're not going to enjoy the show. If you like jump into an anime and let it dictate how you view it, I think you'll find yourself enjoying it more so than most people. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I think the the fact that like thematically a lot of things there interested me, but were cut short, um, annoyed me. Even though I feel like this show isn't really like a gray area messaging show. It's like it's very straightforward. You know what it's trying to tell you even before the message has completed its arc. But the fact that we still didn't get that complete arc of a message, it annoys
That's
me.
interesting you say that. Because I'm like
Oh?
I'm like polar opposite. Because like the difference between episode 1 and episode 2 are so like north and south of each other. Where like I really had no idea where the story was going.
Well, I don't think like I think like as it goes on, you understand as more players are introduced and what they represent in the story, right? Whether it be like
See,
innocent
I didn't know
or
because like I didn't know like if the new girl introduced was going to be like a romantic interest because we kind of got those routes and stuff. I thought that was one thing about Elfen Lied where I didn't really know where things were going.
I
Okay,
guess
well,
I get your point though.
Was not like was it were Nana and Mayu ever introduced like in a romantic sense rather than outside of living with them?
Well,
Were
I
they
can
ever
under I
introduced
can understand.
romantically? Like
Well,
I
it's-
mean,
it's-
mostly
I
as a
can
just jealous
family
of
thing.
them, but that's it.
I can understand. Yeah, I can understand like assuming that they would be and like waiting for that to happen and that sort of diverting your attention from like them as like pieces in a story to like set up themes and like messaging because the romance is probably the worst paced part of the show. And like in terms of tonal shift, like it kind of comes out of nowhere. I feel like a lot of this show is like pause moments where you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. Like every time Lucy shows up, it's like,
You
is
know
someone gonna
nothing.
die? Is someone
Mhm.
gonna? Is there gonna be like like? Is she gonna cry? Is like Coda gonna come? Who the fuck knows, right? And I can understand like that becoming a distraction from the themes. I wouldn't put it past anyone from like feeling like they're just like, oh, romantic interest that never cashed in on it.
Yeah, so to bounce off of what Has just said there, that is a great point. That is one of the main reasons why I love this show so much. Is I had no idea what was going to happen next. I really didn't. And like you said, every time Lucy was on screen, you really didn't know what was going to happen. You had no idea. Every time that dog, so I brought it up already, but like that dog, every time that dog was on screen and Lucy was anywhere nearby or anyone was nearby, like I don't know, freaking, doesn't Bando find him at one point too? Like you I was just like, damn, are they gonna kill the dog? Because obviously it had been established in the first 10 minutes of the show when, cute Secretary Chan just, strolls in
I
and
hated that scene.
That
I
scene,
I,
that scene
I
set the tone of the show. It's just like
see I
really
loved it
As a
because it was just
disaster,
like
because it has this very serious scene, and then it's like, oh my god, I tripped and fell.
That's the whole show.
I feel
think
like that's kind of the point, though.
that's the point of that scene is that hey,
explains why I
we're
didn't like the
not
show then.
normal anime.
Yeah, I mean, you're
We're not a
right.
normal
You're
anime
right.
where this girl would just walk away or get saved by the bell. No, this is real life. She, or well, again, when I say real life,
This is real life. Why is she
come on.
delivering
No,
coffee
come on. You know what I mean. You
in a
know what I mean.
firefight? I know. I mean, like,
I-
even in a real world where this exists, why is she taking that path? Is
Because
she the
Because she
she's
world?
just happens to
airhead.
go there. She's an airhead. She's a ditzy broad. Like
For
I
all
don't
the-
know.
Never met someone that ditzy.
For all the
There's like
advances in
20 guys with
technology,
AKs.
for all the advances in technology in Elfen Lied, they were still on sidekicks. So
Yeah, and like I thought that was like, oh wow, they're not even gonna save this ditzy stereotypical Saved by the Bell anime character. Okay, that's a cool tone that or that's interesting. I liked that. I mean, obviously, I wasn't happy to see her die. I was pretty sad because I was like, oh, she's cute, like
That
whatever.
was funny as fuck.
But it was also it made me scoff, and then I kind of chuckled, and then I was like, oh, so this is what this kind of show is, or this show is gonna be like. I can agree that it gets very confusing at times. I did find myself pausing to think about it a lot more than I did with other shows. So maybe that's why it sat with me better because I actually like really dug in and tried
I
to like
really
it.
dug in. Trust me. I did
don't
the
think you hated
legwork.
it though. I really don't think you hated it though. Like that's where
I don't think
either
I
way.
hated it. I thought it was bad though,
You gave it a 4.
I think parts of it
which
were
is for bad.
for
I've
bad.
said, I've said
it
worse.
wasn't.
It's
wasn't
rated
a 4
E
with
for
malice,
I'm sorry,
everyone.
worse. For
It was
shows
not a
I've
4
given
with malice.
It was not a 4 with malice. It was a 4 of it is what it is.
If a show is bad
Yeah.
and I hate it, it gets a 2. That's
Yeah.
like Shield Hero.
No,
Yeah.
I've talked more shit about shows I've given a 6.
Yeah.
I feel
Well,
like I'm
7
way
out of
too
10?
nice with these ratings.
7 out of 10 masterpiece, right? I don't know. So there were definitely characters I didn't like as well. I didn't feel as strongly against the characters as everyone else seems to have felt. I thought that they were very just mediocre at
I
the
agree with that. I did not like their relationships with each other at times, but I think I don't hate any of them with
Yeah.
I don't care about any of them except for Homeless Girl. But
Yeah, Mayu, yep.
yeah, but
I
don't-
loved the family dynamic that they like sort of had where it was like Kota and Yuka are like the mom and like I like how they built up to that because it showed them like attaching and Mayu having to become slowly integrated into their life and like, oh Mayu, yeah, you can totally live with us and now you can start going to school and start doing things and then Nana being like a sister to Mayu or whatever that she never had like that. I liked that progression in their relationships. As characters. I really, again, I can agree that some of the characters aren't perfectly done. Like Niu is pretty annoying at times. She's cute and I like her overall, but she can also be very annoying and like just dumb at times. But I do agree though that I still can totally see why people didn't like the show because there were times where I was confused. So like when number 3, the girl who gets her the Diclonius that gets her the back of her head blown off, I interpreted that as just like Nana, like getting like maybe not knocked out, but like killed and then like revived or whatever. At first, it took me like a half an episode to figure out. Oh wait, no, that was a literal different person from any of the like. It's not like that's Lucy or Nana or Mariko. I think the final one that gets introduced. Like no, that was a completely different one. That was not the main 3 that we've seen so far. Like I don't know.
I thought that was like Lucy as like a more adolescent version or whatever.
Right.
At first, yeah.
That so I was very confused by it and then I figured it out and then I was like, "Oh yeah, duh, that makes sense after the fact." But I don't know. I enjoyed seeing psychotic level characters too and I will say
Watch Higurashi for Christ's sake.
I enjoyed it to
there-
some extent. It's not that it's not like why I watched this show though, you know. And
Well,
then
yeah, but if you want a show that has that and actually has real theme, well, don't watch the Higurashi anime. Never mind, don't do that.
yeah, I was gonna say you've told me not to now. Yeah, right?
You know what you need? You need no more heroes. They're all Travis touchdown characters. They're all in the Olympics for who has the worst backstory. That's it.
Oh my god! All right,
That's
Does
One
anyone
point-
steal the dog though?
What's your rating, Mr. Pat?
One point, though, that we did not bring up too that I thought is important to address because this is a theme that I have had through many Watch Club shows where psychic powers have been shown. And that is that I didn't love the psychic powers in this show because I don't like psychic powers in general. But this is my favorite iteration so far of psychic powers, mainly because they had a set list of capabilities, which is
Like Shinsekai
spectral
Yori
arms.
did.
Pause.
crazy how I'm right though.
True.
And then
Actually gonna lose it.
and I loved how you could visually see. They made it so that you could visually see, even if the other humans couldn't. I liked how they visualized it for us, so that we could actually see what was going on, rather than just having them staring at each other, like or whatever, and then like seeing random limbs fall off. Which of course is how the show starts. But then once it actually explains what the psychic power is, it gives it a visual thing. Again, I guess we can talk about this after the show because it sounds like I tickled some people in the wrong way with that. But I felt like that's an important thing to address because I'm a notorious hater of psychic powers, and I still am. Don't worry.
I don't even think it's a psychic power.
Like they described as like psychic.
I think they're
Yeah,
just like
it's fundamentally no different than telekinesis to the average eye.
no,
Right.
yeah, and like
It's just their
in
stand.
like
It's just
principle,
their stand, that's what it
yes.
is.
Which is why I think it. I don't know. People call this show like they say that they're psychics. I don't know. Again, we can talk about this after we're done. But yeah, so my final score again. I think also the music, the OP, the ED, and then the background art. The character designs were boring, but the background art was stunning throughout the show. I don't know if anyone else noticed that.
Yeah, the shrine and stuff was
The
good.
shrine was incredible. Like a lot of the locations were great. Even the beach, which was used over and over again, the beach was pretty nice.
If you spend
Set
so
up
much time on it, you have to.
exactly right, exactly. But it was well done. So I liked the show a lot. I'm so glad I watched it. So glad I had everyone else watch it too to talk about it, even if we disagree on it a lot. I'm gonna give this show an 8 out of 10. And yeah, so that brings our average score to I believe a 5.4 overall, which is 2 whole points, 2.1 points lower than the average for the anime. The manga is averaged at like a 7.93 as well. So, and I think that that's fair because based on what I hear them, I probably would end up giving the manga like either an 8 or a 9 as well. So I would think, but yeah, that wraps up our discussion of Elfen Lied. So Miles, what have we got to watch for 2 weeks from now?
Sure. So we had a 3-way tie for number 1.
What?
So we're going down to legacy points again. For the second week in a row, all of a sudden legacy points are mattering left and right. So I'm not gonna give
damn time. Like seriously.
yeah. I mean, the shows that
it.
came in second and third had 4 and 3 points respectively. I'm just not gonna give them legacy points. They don't deserve them.
That's not how this works.
Okay, fine. I will. One is Death Parade, so why not? And then Tsukahime gets
Wait, no,
one
he
too.
means fourth and third as in like not first and first. Wouldn't the
Yeah, so
Oh.
there's
shows
first
get-
and first.
Oh, I thought you. Okay.
So all top 3 shows will get
Yeah,
legacy
I
points.
see what
and
you're
the
saying
other
now.
shows-
Sorry, I
normally
thought-
if there's like a tie, I'll give like, oh, it came in fourth technically.
I thought
but,
you
like,
meant it got 4 points and then they got 3 points and that. Okay, I got you,
Yeah.
playa. I got you, playa.
No, I think
Um,
only that shows that one should get, or
Correct,
were
yes.
tied to win should get legacy because they're the top 3.
Well,
in my
it's a
opinion.
bit of both because like normally I ignore ties because things are close to each other. There was just like a very clear gap, and so I'm gonna ignore the fact that there was 3 shows in this case, so we're just gonna pretend they weren't tied.
I like
because-
that.
So, coming in last is Domestic Girlfriend because it didn't have any legacy points. Coming in second to last, or second to first, second even.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Is we'll get there. Is 86 because it only had 1 legacy point.
Damn.
Oh damn.
And then we will be watching 91 Days.
Fuck me.
Wait, so did my show just get last with 0 points?
Was your show Review Starlight?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I voted
had-
for it.
and you were the only one who did. We had
Yeah.
another week where almost no one voted for what Pete picked.
All right, picking a new show then.
There you go.
That's not how you get things to win, Pete. Yeah, so
Gotta get people
we
to
will be
vote.
watching
You
91
get Miles
Days.
to nominate it. That's how you get people to.
Oh yeah. Or just
Yeah.
wait for Pat to nominate it for a year straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
guess so.
I want to watch Review Starlight, so I'll just watch it myself. It's like it's fine.
the end of the day, we move on. All right, now it's time to do some nominations. So yeah, we'll be
Okay.
watching 91 Days next. All right, yeah. Miles? Why don't you start us off? What show will you be nominating?
Sure, I always love going first, so I will pick Death Parade again.
There you go. Wow, that makes sense. There we go. I go to you first because I hope that you're the most prepared as my other moderator. I
Always
that
the most
isn't always-
prepared.
Of course. Well, I expect nothing less. Johnny, what have you got?
So I was considering the show that I nominated a month ago, but then I feel like 1 or 2 of you here, I have a sneaky suspicion that 1 or 2 of you here are gonna nominate that. So I think, yeah, I'll just nominate Domestic Girlfriend again.
I'll vote for it again.
I want to see the dumpster fire. go
Johnny,
down, you know.
Can I ask you a question? Have you nominated a show that you legit haven't seen yet?
This is a show that I legit haven't seen.
Perfect. Okay,
I've had
sorry.
like 5 of those. What are you talking
Why are you
about?
screaming? I just asked a question.
Alright, whatever.
All right, Haz, what have you got?
This is tough. I have a lot of agendas to push. Stretching all the way back from the Rosario Vampire to
Oh
Um,
no.
to Halo
Yeah.
Legends
No,
to
no,
16.
no,
So
no.
but like I kind of want to win. So like I'm gonna
Fire
give
Vampire
something that's
2 came in second twice.
how many legacy points does it have?
There's two.
So I'm not
Oh.
Rosario Vampire season 2. Fuck it. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh god.
So glad.
First season 2. That's all I needed.
Okay, I have school starting like in 3 days. Do
Disco
you want more
lady.
stress out of me?
Disco lady.
DOP
Yeah.
is
Come on,
really
so-
good.
Oh,
Disco
God.
lady.
Fantastic
Disco
OP.
lady. Dun.
All right, what are you nominating, Pete? What have
All
we
right,
got?
since I will be watching Review Starlight by myself, I'm gonna pick another show that's on my plan to watch that I want to see and is getting more content in the future. I am going to nominate Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Oh, it's okay.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, let me tell you, I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Did you watch? Did you watch the movie?
I did not.
That's higher than I thought you would give it, to be honest. But fair.
I mean, it's got a murder lolly in it.
Fair
Fun.
enough. You do love it when children
Murder lollies are fun.
Miles' favorite character archetype is Murder Lolly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's too many instances of that being true for me to deny it.
No, so
Deny
then
it.
why do you not like Violet? Because she's not a lolly?
She's not a Murder Lolly.
And now
She's
she,
not a-
she regrets the murder. It's,
So you would prefer it if she didn't learn her lesson.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And lastly, I saw the Re-Up 86, the second place show. I really still do want to watch it, and we'll
The
see.
second place show.
No, it was the second place show.
No, but there was 2 shows that.
No,
No,
it got
all three.
second.
All 3 were first place technically.
It got second though because of Legacy. So there we go. I will nominate it again, and hopefully it'll win this next week. Because it'll have more Legacy points due to this week. Or this session. I almost nominated Princess Principal Crown Handler the movie, but I think I will hold off on that because I think someday when the second movie comes out, I can instead nominate both those movies together, and then we can do it that way.
I made the horrible mistake of watching that.
I know you.
Well,
I know you
wait.
already watched it, Miles. So that's why I also decided against nominating it.
So you're telling me I can nominate all 3 Fate movies?
No, because you might need. Well,
You could probably
Depends
do
how
2?
accessible they're.
Please don't put us
Three,
through
I think
that.
3 is fine from like a time
like
point of
a
view.
time point of view, I think it would be fine.
Hold on.
But the reason why we're nominating
not
Princess
gonna
Principal
actually
is
do
because
it.
it's a watch club, former watch club show, and it would be cool to see a continuation of Watch Club.
We've let people do multiple movies before, though.
Yes,
I
we
don't.
have.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be bad.
It'd be 2 movies.
As long-
Because
I'm not
it's 4
gonna
hours.
do it. I'm not gonna do it. I was just saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, please don't. It sucks. Don't let Johnny do this. to us.
Okay, that's mean.
But that's just you.
No, I watched it. It's bad. It's
Okay,
really bad.
that's
The first one, just the first one.
well, we'll watch the
It
second.
has
and
like an
third one then.
8.5 on Bell and has
It's
gave
wrong.
It has gave
8.5
Elfen
is
Lied a
wrong.
7. So
The
take that
8.5
with
is
a grain
wrong.
of salt.
It's 100% wrong.
It's okay.
It's Fate fanboys.
It's-
It deserves like a 4.
Fate
Or like
fanboys,
a
so
five.
like everyone ever.
No.
Like
Everyone-
you?
What did you
Fate
give Fate
though.
Apocrypha has?
Like you?
What I give Fate Apocrypha?
Yeah.
6.
Okay,
Fate Apocrypha has the best cast in any Fate.
it does not. It has one good character.
Wow. Okay.
Kinda
Fuck you.
slowpoke.
It's more
I have 0 reasons for us to continue talking about this. So that, haha, clever. Good job, Pat. Thanks, Pat. All right, we'll move on. Let's move on to our. I guess this is our final segment. So thank you guys again for listening to Watch Club. And Pete, why don't you take it away?
Yes, if you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is like, comment, subscribe, leave a review on whatever platform you are listening on. If you are interested in talking anime, manga, TV, sports, we got football coming up on Thursday. Join our Discord. Links in the description below. Next week, I'm going to do the episode on, I think, Tuesday instead of Monday because somebody's getting married and I'll be out of town. It's episode 100, so I think I'm going to do like my 6-hour episode and count down my top 100 anime of all time. So, if you are looking for a 6-hour podcast, tune in next week when I do that. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for Watch Club for 91 days. See you then.